the iPhone 14 Pro versus the Vivo X80 Pro. I heard the X80 Pro is really great at taking pictures, so I want to put them side by side to see how well it can do against an iPhone. I did shoot a cinematic video just with the Vivo X80 Pro and I was amazed how clean it was, especially during nighttime at Times Square, and I'll link that at the end of the video so you guys can check that out. Now for the front-facing camera, 1080p max on a Vivo and up to 4K 60 on an iPhone. But anyways, I'm heading to the city to try on a couple of jackets for the winter, and I'm gonna stop by a couple of places for lunch. As I'll show you these pictures, here are my thoughts after looking at them on my screen. Let's start out with HDR. This one goes back and forth. Sometimes I see the iPhone do better and sometimes I see the Vivo do better. But for the most part, in the darker shadows, the iPhone tends to show it much brighter versus the Vivo, but in some cases where the pictures are kind of even, the shadows on the Vivo tend to be slightly brighter. Now for the video side of things, during daylight, pretty even. I would say the iPhone is slightly better exposing the highlights, but when you go to low light or when you're outside in the dark, definitely the iPhone does it better. When you see it in the stores, when you're outside in the dark, the lighting of the stores are just much better, more exposed that you can see indoors, while on the Vivo it's pretty much overexposed that you can't really see anything inside. Next, let's talk about the colors. I do notice that the iPhone tends to have a bit more saturation. When you're outdoors in the sun, the images tend to be more on the warmer side, so technically more yellowish. And when you're in the shadows, it tends to be cooler, so more towards the bluish side. And on the Vivo, everything is very natural. The white balancing is always on point, so whatever looks like white will actually be white. So the pictures on the iPhone tend to have some sort of shade of color on there, whereas on the Vivo, it looks very natural. For the video side of things, I do notice that the iPhone does have this like very yellowish green hue over it. You can tell by looking at the gray ground or street, but for the Vivo, it's very natural just like the pictures. Next is low light. For pictures, it's Vivo for me, but for video, it's the iPhone. So with the video side, like I said before with the exposure, definitely you can see more of everything from inside the store to outside as well. And for the pictures, I picked Vivo just because it looks very realistic more than the iPhone. There are times where I can see more in the shadows, the coloring is better, and of course it's just cleaner. For the performance, I would say the iPhone is more smoother because there are times when I'm taking pictures on a Vivo during nighttime, it tells me to hold still for a bit, so it is a bit of awkward pause there. Next up is the telephoto. Even though they both have telephoto lenses, the Vivo can reach farther with this periscope lens. The maximum on the iPhone is 15x versus 60x on a Vivo, which doesn't look great. It's very blurry and it's very hard to take a picture because it shakes a lot. So it's something that you won't use often, but at least you do have that option. The ranges that you would normally use definitely looks fine for both phones from 2x to 5x, but I would say anything after 5x, I would prefer the Vivo just because it's sharper. Now for video, definitely the iPhone is still going to be the king here. Even with the max telephoto range from 9x versus the 10x on the Vivo, clearly the iPhone is sharper. You can at least make out the words, whereas on the Vivo, it's pretty blurry. Shooting telephoto pictures at night clearly let me see how cleaner the Vivo is, whereas on iPhone, you can definitely see more noise. For portrait mode, hands down, Vivo is going to be the winner for me. The HDR on a Vivo is so much better. You can clearly tell by looking at the buildings from the background. It's so overexposed. The sky is pearly white, whereas on a Vivo, you can still see the building behind me. For the focal lengths, they both can do 1x and 2x, but on iPhone you have 3x and on the Vivo you have 5x. I will say the 3x is a little bit hard to use indoors. It's completely fine outdoors and you have a lot of space. The 5x is really hard to use. I feel like I would have to be very far away just to get a good medium shot. And if you're in tight spaces or crowded areas like Times Square, there's no way you're going to be using that 5x. So those are my opinions about these two phones. I really like how with the Vivo you can actually see from ultra wide all the way down to 60x, so it's really nice phone to have, especially for taking pictures. And if you prioritize video, then iPhone is clearly going to be the winner. So for me, if I tend to take pictures, I'm going to lean towards the Vivo. If I take video, then iPhone. Now I'm not saying the Vivo will do a bad job with video, and I've shot a cinematic video with just the Vivo X80 Pro to show you how good it is. So I want to put the video up right here on the screen so you guys can check it out. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys next time.